Welcome to this lecture on types of software testing. As a QA or test engineer, you will have the responsibility to test a system on different parameters, different variations. That's where you need to understand the different testing techniques or types and how they are performed and what are the best practices that needs to be adhered to while performing these testing types. And finally, you must be able to analyze the result of those testing, and then you need to communicate it to the development team or the stakeholders. So let's quickly go through each of these testing types, but in upcoming lectures we are going to talk in more detail for each of these testing types, different techniques, how they are performed, how are the results analyzed, and also the best practices that needs to be adhered to. The first categorization is manual and automation testing. Here we basically say if you are testing the whole system manually without the use of any kind of tools or softwares, then you're performing manual testing. Automation testing, on the other hand, is a combination of little bit of your manual interference, but you have automated all your test scenarios and test suites in such a way that if you run a tool, whether it's a custom made tool or a tool which is popular in the market, the tool takes care of testing all the scenarios for you and you will have the results at the end. Manual testing is further classified into white box, black box, and gray box testing, and here the categorization is based upon to what level of knowledge you have about the system that you are testing. In white box testing, you have sufficient information about the system that you are testing. In the black box, you have hardly any information about the system you are testing. And gray box is a combination of white and black box. The functional testing, the black box testing is divided into functional and non-functional testing. Functional testing is testing the actual functionality. For example, in a banking application, one of the functionality can be transferring money from one account to another. Similarly, adding a new account or adding a beneficiary. So here you test those functionalities, whether are you able to add a new account? Are you able to transfer money from one account to another? Are you able to transfer money if there is no sufficient balance? So these are all the functionality that you are testing. In a non-functional testing, what you do is you don't actually test the functionality, but you test whether the application is performing as per the expectation. Like, is the application able to respond to you even at high load? Is the application built such a way that the user are easily able to use the application? Is the application compatible to different kinds of browsers or different kinds of mobile operating systems? So all these are non-functional testing because these are also important to use any application. Functional testing you can perform at unit functionality level, like just testing that particular functionality standalone. It can be also performed by integrating it with one or more system, where we call it as integration testing. And then we can also do a system testing where we do end-to-end chain of testing. Then the integration testing again is divided into incremental and non-incremental, where we basically increase the number of systems which we want to test with. And the incremental testing is again divided into top down and bottom up based upon the sequence in which you are performing the test. And on the performance testing aspect, it's divided into multiple types again: load testing, stress testing, scalability, and stability. Load testing talks about up to what load you can put on your system that it is still responding properly. Stress testing is If you put a certain amount of load and keep that for certain number of hours or days as is your system still performing? Scalability testing is if your application is added with certain amount of load, is it able to scale up, and once the load is moved, is it able to scale down? Stability testing is if you perform this load or stress testing, is your how stable is your system or to respond to the new request from the application users. That talks about the stability testing. As mentioned earlier, we are going to cover each of these testing types in more detail in the upcoming videos. So thank you for now. I will see you in the next video.